We have 3 of our fall fireside chats. Imagine no fire. And this is the first of them. We hope you can come back in the next 2 weeks. Alan Woodson, a week from now, and Bob Cohen, 2 weeks from now, on the theme continuing of growing up in Springfield. Tonight we are very honored to have John P. Eck, who was born in 1940 and raised in Springfield. He grew up on State Street, at State Street in Outer Park. He went to Blessed Sacrament School, Cathedral Boys High School, and the University of Notre Dame. He worked for 2 years in Chicago after that, and the next 55 years here in Springfield, just for balance. He spent his entire working life in the practice of public accounting, and he retired from active status at Eck, Schaefer, and Punk on 7th Street downtown here next to Merchant House pretty recently. His specialty was not-for-profit entities, such as the Iles House, particularly in auditing and consulting. In addition, he spent 18 years as managing director of a CPA firm. He has served on approximately 25 or 30 boards of directors. Among them, the board of the Community Foundation. At the time, they converted from the Community Foundation to the Land of Lincoln as a new name. He was a member of the board of the Springfield College in Illinois, served as chairperson of that board for 2 years, the last of which, during that time, they negotiated the merger with Benedictine University. He was the founder of the Lay Advisory Board at Sacred Heart Academy. He served as its chair for 3 years, and he was one of 2 late people to serve on that committee that combined SHA with Griffin High School. He served as chairperson of the Sacred Heart Griffin Advisory Board for 2 years and was elected to the SHG Hall of Fame in 2017, almost as big as Cooperstown. All this leads, obviously, I think, to the culminating award so far, elected first citizen of Springfield in the year 2018. Mr. Eck is married to the former Linda Hughes, now for the last 56 years. They are the parents of 4 children who all have astounding business careers in their own right, and 12 astounding grandchildren for John and Linda. Please join me in welcoming John Eck.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I guess the format can be whatever you want. I don't have a formal speech to make. I'll go through some notes and just try and talk about them. And if questions come up, say something. I do have one classmate to keep me honest, so I can't stray too far. 2 of them. I have 2 classmates here. So let me just start out. I didn't know what the composition of the group might be, but no cell phones, no video games, no TVs till 6th grade, no media. You had a radio, and that's not out late at night, somewhere, I guess, Marianne. But I grew up on the southwest side, and when I was living there, the outer park was a little humpback road, and that was the end of the world. There was nothing past that, except that if you went far enough around to Wabash and Chattanooga, you would find Moonlight, but that was a long way out. A long way out. Did the bus go out there? So I was at the end of the world. We weren't allowed in those woods across the outer park. We were at the just one house north of State and Outer Park when I grew up. On Glenwood, there were no houses for half the block. I think the only house down toward us was Bud O'Shea, the O'Shea family. But we were there during all that development. Went to Blessed Sacrament School. Most everything we did was on bikes from our distance. Blessed Sacrament had probably bike racks for 100 bikes. I mean, that's what you did. Not many kids had cars. The car lots then at school were so different from today. I think the nicest car I drove in was a Model T with a hacksawed top off it. And it got there some days and it didn't some. Early in my high school days, Augie DeCenso and Dido DeCenso drove me to school from State and Outer Park out to Cathedral at 8th and Eastman. It's a long way. A little scary on a given day because Dido tried to drive without touching the wheel one day, just his stomach. But you never knew what was going to happen. When you're riding with somebody else, you take your chances. You basically made your own fun. I've had all three types of cancer cut off. And my dermatologist says, boy, you have some skin damage. I said, we were out of the house every day at 8, home at 6, no shirts, and no lotion. So it's a wonder I haven't had it worse. Played Indian ball probably every day. I can't say that term anymore. But Indian ball every day down at Blessed Sacrament with wood bats. Indian ball, some days we only had 3 people. So you put a marker out at, say, third base and at second base, and you have to hit between those. Yeah. And you can't, if you hit the right field, you were out. But, yeah. So we played that every day. I'll just hit some of these highlights. Stop me anywhere. No fast foods until, I don't know when McDonald's. Milk Bar was there, Sugar Bowl, and Don's Drive-In later on. That's later. But there weren't a lot of McDonald's and all the rest of them you see. I don't know what year McDonald's opened on MacArthur. Does anybody know? Was it 60? Rarely went out to eat. I don't remember going out to eat as much as we would or the young couples do today. I think the place we went the most was Balestries, which is where Baskin Robbins is today, right? Like I said, bikes were everywhere. We didn't travel much. It just took so much, and the cars were so slow. The amazing thing was that at Blessed Sacrament, we went to church as a family every Sunday. And we met in the school and marched over as a class. And I tell people that today, they say, what? But if we were, when I was young, we would go in our classroom and march class. And you wore your Sunday best. Did they? It just boggles the kids of today. Blessed Sacrament, I think I remember 45 to 50 in a class. One nun, no assistants. We didn't get out of line too often. And somehow they taught us. I could tell you that Marianne, Tom Denis, well, he didn't go to Blessed Sacrament. But in our class, I often read these names off for people and say, what do they have in common? And they can't answer it. But Phil Graham, George Bunn, Tavy Bunn Casper, Chuck Delano, Stuart Brown, who else? Margie Casey. If I gave the whole list, you wouldn't put them together and say they were all in the same class. Oh, Karen Hosera, Carol Graham. And it was an amazing class. I don't know how we turned out. Anybody? Yeah. We had a reunion some years back, and one of the thugs in those days came to the reunion. We had 3 of the Ursuline nuns there who taught us. And when she saw his face, she went to the corner. She was still scared of him. She wanted nothing to do with him. I guess some of the things I remember pretty well are the quarantine, polio, and stuff like that. I mean, you couldn't leave your yard. Fortunately, we had a hedge slit across the street and about 4 houses away, and we could play catch. I think that's right. But we tried to play catch, and if the ball went out of your yard, we'd have to wait till nighttime and go retrieve them all. But those days were tough because they didn't know what else to do. Stay at home. You can't leave. Well, we were quarantined to our house. We couldn't leave our house. I had non-paralytic polio. Ted didn't have anything, but the only thing we could do was play catch and try and throw it 3 houses and across the street to our property. Couldn't leave. Is that what the rule was? Isn't that something, though? Yeah. It was in the summer, yeah. It was warm. We were outside playing sports, and all of a sudden you couldn't leave your house, so you threw footballs or baseballs.
So this wasn't all the time, obviously. It was a period of time.
How long did it last? Does anybody remember? And she says it lasted a month or 2. So it was a long time. Yeah, I think so. I think it was 2 or 3 times. Yeah. We were to our own house. I did, during the war, I remember doing air raid exercises, getting under the table in case something happened. And it was weird, air raid practice. And recently I moved after living on Glenwood for 45 years, Glenwood for 45 years. And all the garbage we had upstairs, I went through just trying to figure it out. And I found a card that I have never seen. I don't know how it got in our stuff, but my mother was a ground observer during the war. And I said, well, that 5'7", 150-pound lady did pretty good. They never got here. She never talked about it, and I never knew it. Other kids, my siblings didn't know about it. Ground observer, no kidding. So I wrote down words that are lost from our generation, our childhood. And some of them will ring a bell with you. Jalopy, hunky-dory, don't touch that dial. Carbon copy, hang out to dry, sound like a broken record. Oh, my aching back, the fine kettle of fish. Keep knee-high to a grasshopper. Carter's little liver pills. Gilroy was here. See you in the funny papers. Holy moly, in like Flynn, living the life of Riley. Knucklehead, Kilroy was here. Hey, it's your nickel. Going like 60. See you later, alligator. Don't forget the... I'm sorry. It sounds like a broken record. Fedoras, poodle skirts, saddle shoes, pedal pushers, I'll be a monkey's uncle. Wake up and smell the roses. Don't take any wooden nickels. Oh, that's all my aching back again. But I just wrote those down. They were sort of interesting. There are a lot of sayings that you'd never hear again. In the winter, we used to flood our driveway and play hockey. When you got toward the back of the house, it got wider for a two-car garage. But we would flood that with the hose, let it freeze, and play hockey. But the worst part of it was we didn't have hockey sticks. So you used anything you could find. Broomstick. I don't think anybody used a 2x4, but it felt like it. But you could also do that at Washington Park when it froze and you wanted to shovel the snow. Did you? As soon as they put the signs up, it was okay to skate. Yeah. Oh. What else? Do you think they were colder? So we're supposed to keep it to the neighborhood and growing up, but one comment, when I went to Notre Dame, we had the, compare this to today's generation. Our lights in our dorm went out at 9 o'clock. They were out. You wanted to study, you had to do one or two things. You had to go to a classroom building and study, or you went to the grotto, stole candles, and studied in your room. Now there's a Catholic teaching. In your dorm by 9 or 10, and we have so many kids who have never seen snow. And I remember one day they called off snow. We had 12 or 15 inches, and everybody just went out, and the guys from Florida and Alabama just playing football and enjoying the hell out of it. So where else can we go? Well, the biggest thing I remember is that the building was condemned the whole 4 years. Yeah. And if you don't know where it is, that their gym, which was built around 1960, sits there by the tracks at 8th and Eastman. There's baseball fields there. I guess the biggest thing I would remember is that they had two sides, the Prieston brothers and us. And it was not infrequent that you would get slapped around a little bit. I mean, if you got out of line, it was tough. But you better do what you were told, or else they would get you. But all the classes that I had, I think, were taught by a priest or a brother of the Viatorians. I had a couple football coaches who taught classes, but we had some good teachers. We have a class lunch. We still have a class lunch. Every month we have a class lunch. And when we started that, a couple of the Viatorians came to that lunch and they all apologized for what they did. He said, I had no idea I could hurt you as bad as I could when I threw books at the back of your head. But I don't know if I should, he won't care. Jack Butler was a year or two ahead of me, and he'll tell you the story. Father Nolan used to say a prayer every day, start class, walk down, slap Jack Butler, and then start class. It was just routine. Every day it happened. Yeah. I mean, it was as high on that priest list as the prayer was. You ever do that? Okay. But if you got out of line, I mean, they didn't hesitate to hit you. I don't know what other thoughts. You couldn't all jump at the same time. You could feel the floor. Down here. I think, Mike, the thing that was going on is that we knew they were in charge, but we had a lot of practical jokes we could pull. And it just got to them a little bit. We had a priest who'd like to hit you a little bit, and he'd always do it from the back. He would never come toward you and do it, but he'd get you from the back. So one day we just threw, you know those little BBs that popped when you stepped on them? We just filled the front of the room with those. And he was, he got a little perturbed, and the bell rang, and he was at the door first. Nobody went out the door. We all arranged to go out the windows instead. So the penalty doubled up a little bit. But not like today. Not like today. I'm trying to think. We would know the kids at Butler pretty well. Yeah, and and if we were off school for a holy day, we'd yell at them going to school. Yeah, I mean, I guess high school. High school, you had kids from all the parishes come. Most of them, yeah. I guess after that it'd be Notre Dame with maybe 60% 75% Catholic at the time. But we had Bill White in our class. That's the only one, I think. No, South Bend. South Bend. Yeah. We had one African American in our class. Great guy. But he probably had a hard time. What year were you in Springfield? What year did you graduate from Springfield? I was 58. No, 58, yeah. No, we paid something. No, $100, I think. Notre Dame tuition, which today, if you look on the internet, is 70 something. Ours was $1,850. And one of my classmates he joined the Holy Cross Order, and I talked to him one time. I said, "What are you doing with tuition? It's just getting out of hand." Of course, he had the question 100 times. He was a provincial then. He said, "John, tuition then and tuition today will buy a new Buick." I said, "Pretty damn nice Buick, too." But, I mean, that's a heck of a change. I read an article not long ago that said that if the government didn't get into student loans, tuition today would be half of what it is. I don't know if that's right or wrong. I just read an article that said that.
You mentioned the south side, High Park Drive, being in Springfield. What about the west side? Tell us a little bit about where you were going.
Well, one day we took a hacksaw and cut the roof off a car, and we dumped it where Franklin is. That was all woods along there. Now, probably north of Cherry was there because the old farmhouse is there. Yeah. So, but there wasn't much south. You got past Outer Park, you were, yeah. Mm-hmm. Has it changed? Has it changed?
My daughter moved from home, and I saw them reputting the brick road. Tell us about Brick Street.
Streets were, yeah, most of them were, and they've been overlaid. They fixed Glenwood probably 5 or 6 times. When they did, they would take those bricks out and put concrete or asphalt down. And if it wasn't for classmate Karen Hosera, they were going to do it again. I said, Karen, would you send somebody out and rehab our block? And she did. They took all the concrete out and put the bricks back in. And I think I don't know how many blocks of brick streets we would have now, but it's a small percent of what was there. And I think they're trying to preserve them. I don't know. Yeah.
All around Blessed Sacrament.
But you drive down State Street from Laurel to Outer Park. Yeah. You drive down State Street, I think even today, from Laurel to Outer Park, and you'll see what the buses did over. Buses went down there when I was born. But they're starting and stopping this big. I think today the damage is coming from some of these heavy garbage trucks to those things. Because those guys are in a hurry and they stop and start in a hurry, and those things just have to move those bricks. 2142.
Tell us about the phone number you had.
Those rotary dial, we did not have a party line. A lot of people did. But I'm trying, I can't remember what our number was. You remember yours? Huh. Well, yeah, I talk about this stuff to my kids, like you all have, and they just look at you like, what did you do? We went outside. And today they don't, that's all. And what? Yeah, and you end up watching what your parents liked. You didn't get to call the shots then. We got television in 6th grade. And I'll tell you why. Because that's the year that I had non-paralytic polio, and my uncle, Carl, ran Sasco, and they had TVs, and my dad thought, my sister had it too. And he said, I got to entertain them because I don't want to deal with them. So I brought home a TV with all the snow and everything else. I don't know. I don't know the difference. I was too young to remember it, but I had it. Stayed home for a long time. I wish I could tell you the difference. I do not have the syndrome that, I don't think so. I've got bad legs and feet. Yeah. I did this today. Can I give blood? I could, and I did, but the doctor said, you've given enough, stop because of iron and stuff like that. I don't know, and I don't know what time of year it was. It must have been in the summer, because I probably didn't, knowing me. No. Not, no, you just left it. You left them and they're there, and a lot of us didn't lock our houses. Yeah. We would go home a lot. Most of us would run home and eat and come back. Once in a while I'd stay, and I don't know what triggered that. I don't recall. But when we were getting the ride from State and Outer Park out to Cathedral, DeCenso was driving us, and he'd always stop at Rechner's Bakery and get us the butter cake, and we'd eat on the rest of the trip. Yes. It was Cafeteria Cathedral. The food was mediocre. A lot of complaining, and one day they had chili, and we poured a cup of chili on the table and found about 9 types of meat in it. It was all the leftovers. It was Well, I spent time in my professional career auditing the hospital sisters, and their sanitarium out there was active. So my answer was yes. And I don't know what year they closed the sanitarium. Yeah. Trumpy? Right? Those things were, oh boy. During the war, I don't know what everybody remembers. I was born in 40, but I remember the air raid practice, but you saved your grease, you saved tin foil, you saved cans, you had margarine instead of butter, Victory Gardens. Everybody chipped in somewhere. I had hay fever real bad when I was a kid. And I'm going to say starting in about 4th grade. Right? And I said before we didn't travel much, but I had to go north of Duluth before I could breathe. And we drove that in the mid-40s. I don't know how long it took. 2-lane roads. We had stamps to go. Yeah. During the war. But that's a long way. And I know it took, we stayed one night, may have stayed 2 nights along the way. Stayed up there 3 or 4 weeks until the pollen season was going down. Yeah. Now I don't have any part of it. But my siblings thought it was neat that I had the problem, and we got to go up there. Up to high school, I would say no. I think if they came to town, somebody correct me, if they came to town, my thought is that they went to the lake club. Or, yeah. What do you, is that right? I don't, lake club had a lot of them. Yeah. Did he? I remember the name. That's a good question. I don't remember it. And had what? That was the big thing, I guess. Yeah. She did not. My father was a CPA. Started the firm in 1931. I didn't have a date with you, did I? Mostly going to a movie, but you in the earlier years you had to get a ride. Some of us had cars, junior, senior year. We couldn't go to the Senate or the Lincoln. The Strand was one. Yeah. So we not only couldn't go to that movie, we couldn't go to the theater afterwards. Boycott it. And there were, what was downtown at the time? The Tivoli, the State, the Strand, the Roxy, the Lincoln, the Orpheum, the Senate. I'm missing one. Yeah. It was interesting. All gone. Huh. And the sad part is we traded in the Orpheum for a drive-in banking facility. Oh. But seven or eight theaters downtown. Well, that's where you went. I mean, it just wasn't any place else to go but downtown. Oh, the Esquire. Somebody threw a ball through the screen at the Esquire, and we caught a little hell for that. They don't know who did it.
Did any of the ex-boys, was any of the paper boys?
I did papers for a while.
Okay.
Both my sisters and my brother delivered on occasion. My two sons delivered papers. But you'd get on your bike and go, and my route had MacArthur. And those businesses, I wish I could remember all of them, but boy, they were tough to get $1.50 out of. What was the other one? The Moon is Blue. Was that it? Yeah. These priests made up the rule we couldn't go there. Oh, yeah. If we got whacked around at school, if one of those priests or brothers hit you with a closed fist, you didn't tell your parents. Every time they sided with them. Every time. When George Bunn came back for that reunion, he said, "I never thought I'd be back in this school, I was bent over that stage more than once and beat with a ruler. He said, I never thought I'd come back in the building. Plus he's talking about. Oh. I don't think during my school years I ever heard the word diversity. Yeah, it's a whole new thing. I attended Cathedral, which was out on 8th and Eastman. Not that big. I mean, they would try and raise money, but it was penny stuff. Yeah. Al was 4 years older. I couldn't get in Cub Scouts because he was in it and screwed up. They didn't want me. He can't defend himself. Well, as I remember, you had summer leagues in baseball, but you didn't have it in basketball or football, and those were just played at the high school. But baseball pretty much went year-round. Yeah. Huh. I don't, but you had uniforms, right? I don't remember our uniforms. Did we have them? We didn't have them. So there was difference between FHA. I think Ursuline had uniforms too. We did have that, and I went to a function. Yeah, I went down to a function a month or so ago in St. Louis, and Don Larson was there, and Roy Sievers was there the year before, and I told him I was from Springfield. He said, I love that town. My wife is from there. So when he was playing baseball here, he met a young lady and married her. And he was Rookie of the Year in '49, I think. Yeah. I was a bat boy for the St. Louis Browns in '51 for a while. I was. And the function I went to in St. Louis a month ago was a Browns fan club. They haven't played baseball down there for 66 years. They were celebrating their 75th anniversary of being in the World Series, which was a Browns Cardinal World Series, which was a streetcar series. And they had 400 people at this luncheon. They are rabid. I had a guy at my table. I said, "Can I ask how old you are?" He said, "Yeah, go ahead." He was 99. They said, "How many people were at the 44 World Series?" And probably 15 to 20 hands went up. Interesting people, but they're rabid. They are something else. And Pete Gray. They had Satchel Paige. They had the midget. Sangamo Electric, Fiat Alice. Hospitals to some extent, not near as big as they are today, or as dominant. Pillsbury is big. Yep. And that's another restaurant we went to, was a mill. We would go to that mill in Balestri, and I don't know if we went to another one. They were big nights. You know, I wish I knew, because they started that firm in 31, the middle of the Depression. They had 2 offices, and some of the stories he told, you know, he went down to get an audit for the city of Newton, I think. Didn't get it. On the way back, he called the office, and the Ridgely Farmers Bank had closed. He called Newton back and said, "I just lost all our money in the Ridgely Farmers," and they gave him the audit. He didn't say that he only had $7 in it. $7.50 or something. Is that right?
The interesting thing was, my dad said that over the years, they gave every penny.
You did?
Had everything. He would get it in amounts of $2, $3, $4. But they literally had no obligation.
My dad may have got his too, but he got an audit too. Isn't that something?
It wouldn't happen today.
Marine, First National, INB, I think that was probably it. Yeah. And Ridgely. The clearinghouse decided what happened. That's right. I don't recall that as a rule, but that's interesting.
There was speaking of recent years, 20 years ago, didn't mean that they were like charging them.
Back to your question, I don't have a feel for what my father earned. I mean, he wore a shirt and tie every day, and he got tired of us kids arguing in a car who was going to sit by the window. So he got into the habit of buying the old limousines from Kroenig and Butler. So we wouldn't argue, and then we argued who had to sit on the jump seat. Didn't work.
Well, Mr. Eck, why don't we have 2 more questions?
That's fine.
And then we'll get up and we can mingle and talk to one another and learn more. So please.
I'll tell you, when I got out of school, if you didn't go with a big 8 firm in a big city, everybody looked down their nose at you. So I took a job with Pricewaterhouse Chicago, and I made $515 a month. And my brother got his biggest raise ever, because he was working for $285, and he's 4 years older. But we were there for 2.5 years. We were expecting our first, and my wife is from Flint, Michigan, home of good water. And we looked at each other and said, what are we doing in Chicago expecting to raise kids? So we came back. Yeah, ultimately I think, but I was fifth in the office. Yeah, Chicago. Ooh. We lived in Riverdale, which was a brand new suburb, one stop on the train north of Harvey, and rode that train, but I wouldn't go back in there today. It's a nasty. I remember when we started, we had a sheet on the window, and we had a mattress up the wall. Straighten the mattress out to sleep, and my wife fortunately worked for Armour. She was a home ec major. She worked for Armour and prepared ham and turkeys for the executives to taste. And rather than throw them out, she put them in her bag and brought them home. We ate pretty good for a while. But, you know, Chicago, we had 2 big condo buildings facing each other. And I remember sitting there one night and watching this family run out on their rent. And they were lowering sofas by rope and moving out off the balcony. One other story. I talked about the brothers and priests whacking you around pretty good. One day they hit a kid and he got knocked out. And it was Frank Strobel, I think, a year older than us, and his buddy went over to see if he could help him, and the priest said, unless you want to join him, I wouldn't get any closer. They told one kid, he said, you're a mess. There was a train going by. He said, why don't you get the train? Just get out of here. Just go jump a train. Oh my God. We had a room down the basement in Cathedral, a dirt floor room that was the smoking room. Boy, it just got crowded. Smoke everywhere. No, out north, the high school. You know, it wasn't a rough childhood. You just had to do what was expected, and you didn't get hit. But not many of us did. I remember one kid really got in trouble, and one of the brothers, little wiry guy, said, hey, let's go upstairs. He came back with a red face, and I think he got whacked around pretty good. But, you know, we just took it for what it was.
How was your rate growing up in Springfield compared to what you see
Today, I wouldn't want to grow up today or have kids that age today. I'm just glad I'm by it. I watch our grandkids, and they're doing okay. My kids are all okay, and you know they're doing well. Nothing ever came up. I don't remember any of that. Not then. I do know if you had a paper route, you could get a coupon. When you paid your bill, you get a coupon to go to a movie for 14 cents. Just one of those things. We had to pay our paper bill in Porch, which was a half a block away from Blessed Sacrament Church. But I wasn't allowed to go in there. Oh, because he sold cigarettes. My parents said, you can't go in there. Well, I had to go in and pay my bill. Isn't that something? Porch sold everything you needed, including cigarettes. You're not going in there.
Well, can we have a round of applause again, please?
Thank you all for the conversation and helping out, because it brings up more ideas. And I just made some notes, thought I'd go through them and see what it generated. It's a nice conversation, though.
Can I just conclude by saying a couple things? You're welcome to stay for some refreshments. You're also welcome to take the previous issue of the Iles files. We have some extras because the next issue will be out in your mailboxes in a few days. And we've been sending reminders around to some people. Apparently some of you didn't need reminders. Our records are imperfect. But we thank everyone for their support of this ongoing and wonderful place, and especially tonight, Mr. Eck, for your very interesting conversation.
And thanks to you and Dick for asking me.